Fans, we are live on thehannibaltv.com with a very special edition of the Great North Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and we're very pleased today to welcome not only a man who is a legendary figure in the world of professional wrestling, especially when speaking about referees and the contribution that they have made to the industry, but another chapter in our continuing series when we're speaking with the siblings, the children of the figures of professional wrestling. Yes, that's right. We have both Earl Hebner and Katie Hebner. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, we appreciate your time this afternoon. I'll start off by asking what the fans are usually interested in when we talk to legends in the business, and that would be Earl. What was the impetus for you to become involved in wrestling at the onset, and more importantly, your journey to become a referee?
Well, when I was a kid, I was putting a ring up, and one of the referees passed away on the way from Charlotte when I was working for Jim Crockett Promotions. So the promoter, Mr. Joe Murnick, asked me, he said, "I need you to do me a favor." I said, "What's that?" He says, "I need you to referee tonight." I said, "Mr. Murnick, I don't know nothing about refereeing." He said, "Earl, all you got to do is listen." So I tried it and did pretty good. And so he figured, well, hell, why send somebody all the way from Charlotte to Richmond to referee when you live here? So that's how it started. But I was putting a ring up and as a kid every Friday for him.
Now, Katie, in terms of the family tradition that is the Hebners, in terms of not only your dad but your uncle and of course your brother being involved in the industry, what is it that you can boil it down to in terms of the experience growing up in a family that has such deep roots in the wrestling industry?
It was just really cool. That's all I could say. Wrestling was like a second home and second family to my dad. So it was just essentially being around second family to us. I was able to just kind of, some people go to like amusement parks for their their summer vacation. I went to wrestling shows, and I think for how old was I when you dressed me up as a referee? 2 years old. 2 years old. I was already dressing up like a referee, so it was just a really cool experience. And then yes, we were fortunate. I was fortunate enough to have not only my dad, but my brother and my uncle, and of course they all worked different parts of wrestling. You had my dad and my brother who were referees, but then my uncle who was a referee, but then branched out into the behind the scenes stuff. So I kind of got to see all sides of it, which is really cool. And I'm of course the only one who's not a referee. I'm a wrestler. Clearly I didn't stay on that path.
Which we will get to in some detail as well. But when you were growing up, in terms of going to school, did you have folks that recognized your last name and would ask you about the business?
Yeah. It was, so here's a little piece of information for you. So I'm adopted, clearly, because we looked so much alike. So that would kind of throw people off because they would hear the name Hebner, but they would be like, hold on, wait. But then, the smarter ones just kind of understood and put two and two together. But no, definitely. And then I was like a walking billboard back in the day, like anything wrestling, whether it was a shirt, a hat, a book bag, my jackets, I would wear all the props, the John Cena chain, like just everything. So it was kind of very noticeable that, I was a wrestling chick. But no, for sure, they definitely recognized my dad. But no, that was a pretty easy transition. Like, it wasn't one of those things where I had to keep my eye out, at an early age. It was just, we're just talking wrestling and it was cool to them. And, now I have to kind of, realize who's in it for the good reasons. But no, it was good. It was cool.
So, Earl, speaking in terms of the old school, as we like to talk about here on the Hannibal TV, what can you explain what the referee's role was back in some of us like to say, the good old days of the business, both in your work in JCP and then segueing into the WWF? What was the primary function of the referee? And then I'll ask you a part B to that question, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, the old days, you didn't sit in the dressing room and choreograph the match. And you got to finish in the ring. It's not like it is all the everything on. Of course, there's a lot more going on than it was back in those days. But like the George Becker, Johnny Weaver, Blackjack Mulligan, Flair, they say this is a finish, and that's all you knew.
What was it like for you as a referee, though?
Well, I think back then it made referees more smarter in learning the hard way than it is the easy way. Because now they have we got the boxes that talking to your ear and this, that, and the other, and it's basically, but you still have to be good, regardless of what you hear in your ear. You got to be able to perform in the ring. Use your own head and your own judgment. A while back, a couple of referees screwed up and everything, and some point, it's the referee's fault. But just say 40% is the referee's fault, 60% is the agent's fault. Because if the agent is sitting down there and he's got the same box that we have, he can talk to us. He can do anything. He can tell us go right, go left, stand on top of your head, and that's what you do. But when somebody gets hurt, the agent should tell the referee, take it home. Because some referees that don't have the experience that I have would be afraid to take it home or ring for the bell because they don't know what consequences they're going to pay when they go back to the gorilla position. So in one sense, they should say, hey, give the ref some more authority. If guy tells you he's hurt, go home. That's that simple. But the agent that's watching the match should be able to tell the referee what to do so he's not pushed and get the stress off of him, and then be less people get hurt or get more hurt than they already hurt.
Yeah, and that definitely makes sense. And I know the recent incident you're referring to, which is quite a head scratcher. Part B of the question is, back in the day growing up, I watched referees such as yourself, Dave, Tommy Young, and saw the role that they played in terms of the optics of the match. What are your thoughts, without getting into detail, of some referees, including one with a major organization that seems to draw attention to themselves and become front and center in terms of the match? Do you think that as a lot of fans do, old school fans anyway, do you think that detracts from the match itself? And do you think it is something that should still be avoided?
I think they're stupid. Exactly. Because I've watched them and you watch them and they take a body slam and the referee goes, ugh, or clothesline, all the bullshit that they do, it takes away from the match. And they're not getting touched at all. They don't need to sell nothing. All they need to do is go by the rules, go by the break, go by the count, and that's it. And I've told them over and over, believe me, I've told them all, every company I work for, I said, you don't sell. Nobody's hitting you, nobody's punching you. Until you get hit or punched or take a bump, that's when you sell. Other than that, don't sell nothing because you're taking away from the boys. But some referees want to, of course, me coming up, I had the luxury of working with Flair, Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, where they wanted to give a referee a little bit of something in a match. But I only did what I was told. I never went in business for myself. And a lot of these guys do that, and it's stupid. And I've tried to teach them and tell them and look, they're probably going to business for themselves. That's the bottom line. They want to be a showboat. I mean, nobody ever bought a ticket to see me, so I'm sure that nobody has ever bought a ticket to see any of the other refs around the world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and I fall into that group of fans that will not watch that particular product simply because I find that style of refereeing to be too much for me to handle sometimes. Katie, can you talk about some of your earliest memories related to your father's career, and did you have any favorite wrestlers that you and we'll talk about this in relation to your career in a bit, but that you admired, that you had a chance to meet?
So anything between like 96 to 2003, like those wrestlers were the ones I was around at all. It's so funny because when people say like, okay, you've been around the business, you've grown up and everything like else, like when I went on the road with my dad, I was often just the little girl just in awe of everything. I wasn't so much like studying the business or anything. So I'd be hanging out with the girls a lot in the locker room. When the guys come out, I probably wasn't even watching half the time. I'd watch my dad. I was just kind of all around. Just, the guys and girls were so nice. They were always just looking after me, entertaining me. It wasn't until as I got older is when I started like really studying it and breaking it down. And I always loved like Trish and Gail, and those are also two of the girls that I kind of model myself after. Some of the guys, I loved Randy Orton. I loved him. It was funny actually because one of the memories I had of him, you might remember this, Dad, I don't know, but so like I think someone had given Randy, like a fan had given Randy like flowers because that's just what fans do apparently. And that same weekend, my mom had just had surgery. So Randy gave me the flowers to give to my mom. And I just thought that was like the most cool thing ever. I'm like, oh, Randy's giving me flowers. Oh my goodness. But yeah, they were just all kind of cool, nice. Viscera, Gangrel, I was afraid of them. I was afraid of Kane. Kane, Undertaker, I would not go around them. But yeah.
That's awesome. Earl, a lot of fans are familiar with the ref bump and some of the physical tolls that being a ref at a high level like you were takes. Can you talk about some of the punishment and injuries that you've experienced over the course of your career? And part B to that question would be, do you think that the ref bump is way overused in the modern era, in your opinion?
I'll have to say yes and no. But a lot of it, they should only bump a ref when it means something. Just to bump him, it doesn't make sense. I mean, if you're running a storyline and you're doing this and you're doing that and whatever the end of the road you want to get to, it doesn't make sense just to beat up a ref every night. It really doesn't. I mean, they need to use a ref when they need them, and let the rest of it be just normal refereeing in the ring, like it should be. I mean, you don't see them UFC beating up the refs and all this crap. And like ours is entertainment, so of course you want to make it interesting and bump a ref here and there, but you can overdo it. You can burn it out. I mean, a lot of times, I remember Brian going to the ring and going, okay, fans go, okay, go bump the ref tonight, because they bumped him to death. Same way with me. And you could always tell, the fans always figured, well, something's coming up. Earl's out here, he's going to get bumped. Here comes Brian, he's going to get bumped. And we were the only two bumps refs that looked like was any refs left at the time. But when you burn it out, it gets boring. People don't even care about it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. In terms of injuries, do you have any that stick out in your mind from the abuse you've taken in the ring?
I could eat up the whole hour and a half telling you all the injuries I've had.
So start from your head down.
But I got top of the head. Piper hit me in the head with a chair, and out of the blue, he said, "Take a bump," and they put 12 staples in my head to get me back together. I've
Shoulder.
I've had both rotor cups replaced. From one was a Hogan deal, one was from Triple H hit me with the sledgehammer. I've had 9 operations on my knees, 5 on one, 4 on the other. But that was just from people stepping on my foot and making me twist. Uh, God, I've been Koloff hit me in the head with the chain, swinging the chain right here. That was stitches. I've had elbows. They sent Pac-Man in to eat the splintered bones out of my elbows where I was hit the steps off, splintered to my elbows. And I don't know, man. It's
And that's just wrestling related. Don't even ask us to include the non-wrestling related incidents.
I mean, I've been beat to death, just about. I, but uh, that's what it calls for, and sometimes that's what you have to do.
How about the black eye one? You said something with their hand and left you a whole black eye.
I was in Canada, and Andre was in the ring, and we did a spot, and he held me, and he put his hand over my head right here and held me right here. Next morning, I woke up, and I had 2 black eyes from the pressure from him. Then when I flew from there to New York, to Madison Square Gardens, both of my eyes were black. I couldn't see, so I couldn't work that night. And I walked in the dressing room. I go, "Look at you, Andre, look." And I pointed into my eyes. I said, "See my eyes, you did that." He goes, "Oh, no, boss, not me." I go, "Yeah, you." But that's how strong Andre was. He would never hurt a flea, you know. But he didn't know his own strength.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up Andre the Giant. Fans still talk a lot today about his reputation, I guess, with folks backstage. That if he liked you, you were golden, but if you weren't, you're into some trouble. Do you have any memories of Andre not taking? And I could name some names, but just off the top of your head, not taking a shine to folks.
Well, at one time I would play little cribbage with Andre, in his dressing room, and I dressed in his dressing room, and I'll never forget this. Marty and Shawn Michaels came in the dressing room, and he had his own dressing room, and he told them to get out, and they thought it was a joke. He picked up the chair, and he threw it like it was the bushwhackers used to throw them. I can't think of the name of it. And that thing hit the wall and stuck in the wall. And once that hit the wall and stuck in the wall, they packed that crap and they were gone. But and you hit it right on the head. If Arnie liked you, he liked you. If he didn't like you, he didn't want to be around you, and he'd tell you right off the bat.
Yeah, and who's gonna argue with a giant?
Right.
Katie, in terms of either growing up or in hindsight now, do you have any favorite moments that your dad was involved in, not only WWE but any other company?
So I love the whole when the angle with him and the McMahon family or the like Triple H and all of them. That was a cool storyline. Got to see his 5 seconds of fame for that. I think and what makes my dad just special is just his not taking shit demeanor, like in the ring. So anytime he steps foot in the rings, it's just going to be a good match. He's going to call it down the middle. A special moment that I got to have with my dad was him refereeing my first match. So that was kind of cool. He was refereeing my first match. there was the storyline that I did with Gail and Kong. I remember I came back through the curtains and my dad was crying in tears. I guess because I made him so happy. So there's a couple of special moments between he and I that we got to share. And then, like I said, just really anything that my dad's been involved in. But with him and The Rock and Triple H and all of that, that was kind of cool. It was scary a couple of times. I remember he would tell me it was ketchup because he would get cut open. I would start crying. He's like, "Oh, it's just ketchup. It's just ketchup."
That's tremendous. Earl, you've definitely worked, you've shared a ring and been responsible for, literally some of the greatest matches and moments of all time from, what many fans, especially those that watch this channel, consider to be, the golden era of professional wrestling. Do you have any that you enjoyed working with the most that stand out? And then I have a part B to that one as well.
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I went my first night at WWF back then, when I did the Hogan match with my twin brother, that was pretty good. I love that, and because that was something that I thought I would never be involved in, And then I love working with the Undertaker and Paul Bearer because it was just so cool. They had spots for me and always took care of me. And I've done a lot of great matches in my life, and I probably can't remember them all right now. But one of them I loved is working with Stone Cold, because at the end of the match, I got to drink beer. We celebrated together. Hey, Stone Cold, all right. And I kept saying, "Don't throw me so many beers. I can't drink them that fast." And I said, "Damn, I'll get drunk before I get back to the dressing room." So I was watching him, and he would just guggle them and let it all go down. So hell, I said, "Well, this is the only way I'm going to survive to walk out." So I would just do the same thing. But I enjoyed working with Steve, and not only Steve, a lot of guys. But I enjoyed drinking the beer with him. We did a lot of toasting and high fives, and it was really cool for me to be the referee for that match, those matches for him.
Are you talking about? You mentioned the angle with Dave. Was that the Saturday night main event with Andre and
Indianapolis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea while that was going down that it would be one of the most iconic moments in history when DiBiase got the belt and that entire angle?
Yeah. I just figured all these people ain't gonna. I sat there and thought and thought and thought, and I went, boy, nobody's gonna like me at all on my first night up there. But it was something that probably no other ref will ever get to do, and it happened for me because I happened to be a twin and the angle that they wanted, so it worked out great. People were saying, "Oh, it's an imposter," and by being a twin, it worked perfect for them. So that's again being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and what a television audience that drew for NBC. I mean, ratings that we'll most likely never ever see again. I have a question from Mike D, who asks thoughts on Crush and Viscera passing away, Earl.
Viscera, the guy that scared me.
Yeah,
Nelson Fraser.
Right. Viscera was a great guy. He was just awesome worker, and as big as he was, he could move and get around good, But when any of the people that I've been around with and it's been his past, it kind of hurts you a lot because it's like this business is a private family. You have your home family, and this is our family away from home, and it's like you just lost
brother.
A brother,
How about Crush?
Crush, he was something else. He was a big man, and I love working with him too.
Yeah, gone far too soon. I had the pleasure of meeting him on a couple of occasions, and definitely a gentleman, different from his persona for sure. This is for both of you. Starting off with Katie, in all your time that you spent, no doubt, backstage in WWE events, did you have any interactions with Vince McMahon that stand out, being what an imposing figure he was? And Earl, I'll get to you after that, because I'm sure you have many such stories to tell.
Be nice. I actually don't remember like any specific interactions I've had with him. Although I know I've had a couple, because there's a cool picture that my dad has in his room of Vince and I, or Vince and me. It's just a little candid photo. I think I was when we were 7 or 8, but I don't remember him specifically. I remember a little bit of Shane, but then again, it was just like saying hi and stuff, but nothing like specifically where I was just one-on-one with him. Actually, I do have an autograph from Vince, when you know how like the 8x10s, I think it was like to Katie, our next diva or something, but
Yeah.
no, nothing too specific.
Earl?
Any nice memories?
She's saying be nice, but I mean, you know, Vince had his pluses and minuses. Okay, it's like when when we had TVs, he had a big box sitting there, and he had 100 buttons on it where he could call everybody they screwed up and give him hell. And he, sometimes, even myself, when I come back from a match and something didn't go right, he'd go, "Come over here." Take his glass off and slam him down the table. So, what in the hell did you do that for? And I would explain it to him. Well, don't let it happen again. And then there's times when, like a live show, pay per view, or Monday Night Raw, you do the last match and you go, "We got to go, we got to go, we got to go. We got 30 seconds left, 30 seconds left." And thank God I'd get it off in time. I come back, "Good job, Earl. Good job. Good job. Right on the money. Good job." So, you know, if you did good, he said good things. If you screwed up, he let you know.
Yeah, he was most certainly the boss, which some organizations lack to this day. Have another fan question from Isban, who wants to know your memories on Joey Morella, Gorilla Monsoon's son, who passed away tragically.
Well, I'm going to tell you the story of me and Joey. We were in Atlantic City, and we were doing a show there, and Joey came up and said, "Hey, Earl," he says, "I'm going to my dad's house tonight." He said, and we live close by. He said, why don't you let me do the last match so you can get out early?" And I thought, well, okay. He said, "Because you got to drive all the way back, to New Jersey or wherever we were." And I said, "Okay." There's no. I said, "You sure?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "Hell, I'm going to see my dad and stay with my family this weekend." And because I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the 4th of July, I think, or somewhere around there. Maybe I'm wrong about that too. But anyway, and so I left the building, and next morning I woke up and I heard the bad news. And I've always thought, would it have been different if I had stayed and he had left? I always think of that. Maybe it wouldn't have, maybe it would have. But that, and he was such a great kid, great guy. I'm telling you. I mean, you could have the worst day in your life, and once he got there and started joking and all the BS that he would shoot, perk you right up. So, that's kind of one of the things I've always lived with. If and buts.
Yeah, what a tragic loss. Another
Oh,
fan
let me
is
say
asking.
this too.
Go
Let me
ahead.
say
Sorry.
this too. He was a hell of a baseball player, and he had I think he had a deal going where uh, he could have probably played in the major leagues if he just stuck with it. But he was a hell of a baseball player. Believe me. I wish he'd have stuck with the baseball.
Mm. Absolutely. Katie and Earl, what was the Ultimate Warrior like backstage, if you have any recollections of Mr. Hellwig?
Well, I'll never forget. We were in Savannah, Georgia, and we were going into a pay-per-view over the weekend, and this was like a Friday night. And the Warrior had cut a promo on Rude, and Rude didn't like what he had said. And I had that match, and Rude beat the hell out of him all the way from the ring. He left the ring, went through the curtain, jumped in the limo. Rude jumped in the limo, and they beat him all the way across. And he was screaming, "Tell Earl, stop him, stop him, stop him!" But the Warrior was he was an okay guy as far as friends, but he didn't care about nobody in the ring except himself. I refereed him and Hogan in Toronto at the WrestleMania, and he
I
hit
was
me so
there.
hard with the clothes. He hit me with
Oh wow.
he hit me with the clothesline so hard that when I hit the mat, I didn't know where I was. I couldn't even get up for a while, and that's how he did. He just didn't care. He didn't take care of nobody. You know.
Did you, in terms of that's another segue I wanted to ask kind of indirectly. We've heard of wrestlers that were stiff with each other in the ring, but aside from the Warrior, did you ever have any problems with any other talent in that regard?
Mm, not really. If I ever got stiffed, it was because it was an accident. Most of the guys that ever had to bump me or take me down or whatever it may be, they always took care of me. You know, the Warrior was the worst one. I mean, like I said, he just didn't care whether it was me or you or Katie or nobody. He gave you the same damn clothesline as he'd give anybody. You know,
Yeah,
but
very.
most of the guys always took care of me.
Katie, in terms of the advice that you got from your father, both in terms of the business and in general, what role did that play, and how did you reach the decision yourself that you wanted to pursue a career in wrestling as a wrestler?
Um, so I'll be honest. The strongest piece of advice my dad said to me was stay away from wrestling. He did not want me, like, probably to this moment, does not want me to be in the ring unless I'm a referee. But I think he's accepted it. He's come to terms with it. But really just being my own person, he just always wants me to be aware and smart. And to be very honest, there's not really a certain piece of advice he did give me just because I've kind of always witnessed it. I'm not saying that I knew much about the business, but the little ins and outs of the business I kind of witnessed myself, like, the glamorous sides and the not so glamorous side. But when I transitioned into a ref for a little bit, that's when my dad really came into play. I started turning towards him for that. We would watch lots of not photos, videos of old time videos of him reffing, and he would like stop the video every 2 seconds and tell me where the referee was and why they shouldn't be there or what they should be doing and X, Y, and Z. But no, my dad's always been supportive, as well as my mom. And it's just always like, hey, if you're gonna do this, just be smart on your body, be smart in your mind, understand that this isn't gonna be around forever, stuff like that.
Sounds very, very sound advice indeed.
Yeah.
Now, Earl, we're going to talk in a bit. I know you have a book coming out, and we're going to we're going to give the fans all the information that they need to watch for that and keep up with yourself and Katie. So I don't want to bury the lead on that, but just as a Canadian myself, I
Oh,
am
if I'd have known that, I would have never talked to you. Katie didn't tell me that.
there you go. There you go. It's a sneak attack job. But as a Canadian myself, at one time you were perhaps the biggest heel to us as a country that there was. I went to several events. I was telling Katie before we came on air. I saw you in about 2014 in Orlando in a TNA pay-per-view, and they were doing the Brett chant. Then just out of curiosity, how is it that you dealt with that negative feedback that you received from so many of us back in the day? I recall, full confession, being part of that on a couple of occasions. But how did that make you feel? And you certainly seem to go with it and turn it into a favorable position for yourself. Long-winded question, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, it was tough after it was all said and done, and I think it's about 22 or 23 years old now or whatever. And I am friends with Brett and people that ask me this or that. Like when I do a podcast, I'll tell them I'm not talking about the Montreal Screw Job. If, like you said, I got a book coming out, and it gives everything from A to Z. So if you want to know, you can buy the book, and you know. I'm not giving all my free information away. And the book has a lot of back history and a lot of information on a lot of things that people wouldn't even think about that has been done. Oh, I've done through my years. But
You did go to Canada 2 weeks ago.
I was yeah, I was in Toronto 2 weeks ago. I did we won't. You remember the name of it?
It was for charity.
It was for charity on the Indian reservation.
Oh, yes, I do recall that. That's down the road. That's down the road from us here. Yes, I do recall seeing you there. Tatanka was
because
there.
I was going to.
Yeah.
And I was going to get with Jimmy Caderas and have lunch with him, let him buy me some free food because I didn't have any Canadian money. But it was a great honor. Like I told the people when I went out to the ring, I got the microphone and I said, it's been since roughly 2005 since I've been here. And I said, I never thought I'd come back in Canada again. But I came back for a good cause and I was asked to come. And I said, you people have been so nice to me and gave me a good welcome. And I want to thank you very much for being polite to me. I said, I've done a lot of good things and I've done a lot of bad things. But nevertheless, I'm not a bad person. And they were amazed. They were super great. So I think I got another show over there for the same guy coming down the road. So, and I'm glad now. It sort of broke the barrier for me,
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I feel safe now going over there. I don't know about Montreal though, but I will go to Toronto.
Well, I'd say you're more than safe. You're over in Canada for sure. Jake Walker, the individual who arranged this interview for the Hannibal TV, is a huge fan of the Hart Foundation, the Hart family, and wanted to know about your memories working with again the late great Owen Hart and his penchant for those great ribs we've heard so much about. Did you have any of those played on you?
Well, okay, let's start at this. Owen was one of the biggest ribbons in the business, the biggest, but not to hurt nobody, just to have fun. We were in Houston, Texas, at the Sam at the Sam Houston building. And Ahmed Johnson was the world champion at that time. So they had their music all geared up, and Owen went up to the music place, and he put Hulk Hogan's music in it and took his out. So when the announcer goes, "In your world heavyweight champion," and the music hit, and it was Hogan's music, and Ahmed Johnson was the champion. That was one of the biggest ribs of that I loved and carried with me all my life.
Yeah,
But he was a
tremendous.
river. He was a river.
I don't recall off the top of my head, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that famous In Your House pay-per-view in the pavilion in Calgary, and I believe it was '97. Were you there for that pay-per-view by chance?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the amazing atmosphere that whole angle created, where Brett and the Hart Foundation were these mega heels in the U.S., and then everywhere else they were these huge baby faces and were treated as such in Calgary? I think that pay-per-view still stands up as one of the most the hottest and fantastic crowds of all time. Is that your assessment as well?
Right. Yeah. If I'm thinking right, and what you're telling me, I think I was refereeing David Boy and somebody, and David Boy, I had to take a bump in that match, and David Boy hit me and knocked me through the ropes, and the white tape paint on the ropes was stuck on my britches. That's how hard he hit me, and I went out. And honestly, that's one of the biggest hits that I can remember where I really got the hell knocked out of me. But David Boy was a big boy too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I did that. I think if I'm not wrong, I think uh, I think it was kind of a bad weather at the time. Maybe I don't know. It's been a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but
A fan wants to know, what was your favorite year when working in the WWF? And this fan says 1990 was their favorite.
truthfully, every year I worked there was my favorite, just to have a job. Believe me, uh, it's hard for me. Like everybody goes, "What's your famous match? What is your famous match you ever did?" Well, hell, I've done so many, I can't remember them all. You know, but it's hard to me to say what was my best year because I guess if you look back, what happened in the last couple of weeks, just having a job there would be good now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm thankful for the time that I had there and the years I spent that I had a job that long.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any advice for those that aspire to become specifically a referee in wrestling? What would be the fundamentals that you think they should focus on in order to make it?
Put your heart into it, 110%, that you want it. And if you don't want it, don't do it. Don't do it just to be in the ring for your girlfriends, your friends, your family. Have your heart set on it, or either don't do it. And listen to the guys of what's going on. Take interest in when you're sitting with them at TVs and you go out to the ring and you go through the matches. Stay alert. Don't sit there, go to sleep. I remember, like when I would do a WrestleMania main event. When I first went there, I would probably do one or two matches before the main event. Finally, I got to the point where doing the main event was nervous enough with it, and remembering what was going on in your first two matches, and then you go into the main event later. It was too much, and I couldn't concentrate. So I told Vince, if I'm doing the main event, that's all I want to do. I need to know bell to bell. I don't need all this other stuff to have to remember and be exhausted and run down and worn out. So that's how these referees have to be today. I think I think Charles Robinson is probably the best referee out there right now. I mean, it's Kyoto's good, and everybody's going to get good, but you're not going to get it overnight. You know, you got to. I'm still learning, and I've been in it for roughly 45 years, and I still learn something. When I do indie shows, I could always pick up something and learn something. You know, but you just got to be on the ball. You know, you can't get in there and walk around and they're in one corner and you're in the other corner. That don't work. You can't communicate to what the guys. If you should stay between a foot and 16 inches from the talent. So when you're doing something, if you relate a message, you can relate it back to the other guy. You know, he says, shoot you in, duck a clothesline and a hip toss. Well, that you got to then I'll repeat it to the other guy. And same way with the TVs and everything else, especially with all the noise, you know. So that's how you have to be a good ref. You got to learn. You got to be part of the show. The referee is probably the most important leader in there, to be honest with you. So you can relate back and forth, especially given the time on a live pay-per-view, a live show. You know, 2 minutes gone. Oh, a lot of them like to say, "Give me the last 5 minutes. Give me the countdown." So that's what you do, and it works. But you got to be prepared. You got to be on the ball, or don't. It ain't gonna work. And a lot of times when you screw up something, uh, a lot of referees go to hell with it. I don't want him no more. I want somebody that I know can trust. You know, so that's
Makes
that's
sense.
it's a tough job.
Absolutely. Katie, you're now a wrestler and plying your trade. What are your goals in and again, we'll get your social media contact and any plugs at the end, but what in a global sense, what are your goals that you're looking to accomplish as a wrestler yourself, carrying on the Hebner name?
So I don't know if you've been following my journey much, but it's been a crazy road. So I was at the Nightmare Factory for a little bit, getting trained under QT Marshall and Cody Rhodes. And so while I was there, I injured my back. And it's kind of one of those, and that put me out for a very long time. And it was kind of one of those things where if you're not seen, then, not what was it?
Out of sight, out of
There
mind.
you go. That's what I'm talking about. Eyesight out of mind. And so, unfortunately, that was the case for me. I was out for about 12 to 13 weeks. And then, of course, here I am when I get injured. I'm like, okay, cool. 12 to 13 weeks. I'll be right back in the ring. And I got injured in April of 2021. And by October, I was still having issues. Like even into like 2022 of last year, I was still having issues. So it was kind of one of those things where I wasn't able to, my recovery time wasn't as quick as I was hoping. It was still a lot of like underlying problems that we didn't know until I went to my orthopedic specialist. So unfortunately, wrestling was just kind of put on the back burner and we tried a different route, which was refereeing. And that was a kind of a thing that I played tug of war with because everyone like for years would always be like, Katie, you have the name, just use the name, be a referee, do this, do that, like save your body. And while I respect referees and respect what my dad and my brother and my uncle did for the business, like that's just not what I wanted to do. Like to kind of answer your question, I wanted to be a wrestler. I wanted to be my own person, while still carrying around the Hebner name. But I didn't want that to be the reason why I made any type of accomplishments. So I did that for a little bit, and then I just, again, wasn't really feeling it. So I actually have a backstage job at AEW now. I am working, as a PA right now with them. So I'm working on the production side of things, which works out fine because I love the behind the scenes stuff. Kind of playing into what I was telling you earlier, where when I would go backstage, I would just kind of look up what was going on around me versus what was actually going on in the ring. So we're trying that out for right now. We're going to see how that goes. But right now I'm doing wrestling on the independent circuits, which is cool. It still allows me to hone in my craft and still get some experience in, and get to have the best of both worlds right now. Hopefully down the road we can revisit, but it's not in the right timing right now.
Understandable. This may be an added question in terms of poignancy. When I wanted to ask Earl, as you've had such an immense career spanning decades, you've seen the absolute heights of the business on at least a creative level. As we know, WWE is a hugely successful financial operation now. But what are your thoughts in terms of the current product today? We hear a lot of people say that isn't what I grew up being interested in, or that wasn't what I did. But do you see a vast difference from both AEW and WWE compared to those glory years that I just referred to?
Well, a while back when I was there, WWF and WWE, there was like storylines that made things interesting, and nowadays the way they're WWE and AEW, they've got so much talent right now, and when you're on TV, you don't have 15 or 20 minutes, 30 minutes. All your matches are between 5 and 10 or 8 minutes. So there's no time to tell a story no more. And I think we've sort of gotten away from that, where you can't tell a storyline and continue. There may be some, not all, but it's just a lot of talent right now, and you can't put 40 guys on 1 hour TV. It's not enough space. If you do, there's no time to tell nothing, to make a storyline. And back then, when I first went to WWF, they told it was like a soap opera. You see this week, you see this next week, and you see it the following week. You kept interested in following it. Now it's just boom, 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 boom. 1, 2, 3. See you.
Yeah, that's I echo those sentiments quite a bit. But then there are those that argue that the business has changed and that's the way it is. But psychology is definitely missing for sure in some major products. This is a fun question, guys, that I like to ask anyway. But both of you, who are on your wrestling Mount Rushmore? That good one that we get quite a bit.
Go ahead.
Do you understand it?
No.
So, Mount Rushmore, right?
Yeah.
Like the 4 presidents or 5 presidents, 4, right? 4 presidents. Like, who are your 4? Oh man. All right, hold on. We can go back and forth, Dad. Who's your number 1, or just any one of your people? Trish Stratus. Chris Benoit. Here, you answer a couple, Dad, so I can think.
Okay. I'll have to go with Stone Cold. Okay. And I have so many. Madison. I love her to death. I've been around her. God, she's just a sweetheart.
Madison Rain.
Yeah, Madison Rain. Love Mickey James to death. Love her to death. She only lived 3 miles in the road a while back before she moved. But I love her to death. I love The Rock. I had a ball with The Rock, believe me. And from the first time meeting him to what he is now, I had no idea that I would ever have met that guy for what he is today. And I was his tag team partner in Richmond, my hometown. So, but God knows I just have so many that I could just keep naming. like the Undertaker. I love him. Paul Bearer, oh God, and especially too, no time for you. Yokozuna. Oh my God, what a treat working with him. And when he and the Undertaker working together, it was like a night off. It was like going to a party. But I could keep going and going and going. But God, I just have so many to be thankful for. Like Ric Flair, I thank him for everything he's given me and all the shit that he's let me do to him. Oh my God! And not only him, all the other guys. They're the ones that made me who I am, or made me what I am, by helping me and giving me spots and stuff that were excited. Like the DX. One more. That like the DX. I love them guys. I beat them all up because they let me in a pay-per-view or something. But but that's why I'm telling these refs, learn what the hell you're supposed to do, be where you're supposed to be, and they're gonna take care of you and make you something. But God, I could go on and on, but I think that's enough, don't you?
I have to say, I love Trish Stratus. I love the way she was able to work a crowd. She really could work a crowd, heel or face. I love Gail Kim. She was also someone that I love, her athleticism and just her speed. So my style that I try to do is like technical with a little bit of speed, not so much of a high flyer. But Chris Benoit, I do love Kurt Angle. And I've been like watching a lot of like old school wrestling as well as part of my film study, and even like Brad Armstrong. You know him, right, Dad?
Oh yeah.
So
That's
that
old
is,
dog's brother.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
you didn't know?
Oh,
That's fabulous.
but
Good choice there. Definitely.
yeah. So I think that's. I wasn't prepared for that question, but yeah, I think that's who I. Yeah. Nice solid palette there.
Yeah, all excellent choices. We're just about through our time, and you've both been very generous with it. So thank you for that. But in terms of a final question, final thought, and this is for both of you, what would you consider to be your legacy, Earl, on the industry? And Katie, what's your take on that question on behalf of your father? You can go first.
Me. I think my dad's just a very call it down the middle, down the line, just sees it for what it is. I would like to see him inducted into the Hall of Fame, WWE's Hall of Fame. I know as much as he probably denies it and doesn't want the spotlight and will say his little snarky comments, I know deep down in his heart that would make him so happy. And that's why I always tell him, I'm like, Dad, you got to be nice, because they called you for it one time and he was not kind to them, told them to go off. And I'm like, Dad, stop. So I think he learned his lesson. I'm like, if they call you, you need to accept that with open arms. But I would love to see him in that. I just think he's done great things for the business. And are you itching to say something, Dad?
No, I'm waiting on you.
Oh, okay. So you're waiting to say. Okay. So yeah, that's my take on it. I think he was someone who. Sorry, I think my dad is just someone you could just always count on. Like, I've been in the ring with my dad, as when I had my first match, and you would think that me being in the ring with him would make me super nervous and I would be like freaking out. But no, I was actually very grateful. Like, he carried me through that whole match, and I can only imagine like what he did for the guys in the ring. Like, he's very gracious and patient, which is so weird to think because he's not a patient person outside the ring. But like, he's already over here tapping his finger, waiting to answer. Go ahead, Dad.
No, well, I've had a great career in this business, and I've had a lot of help from a lot of talent, guys and boys, guys and girls. Okay, and like whenever I do the girls matches, I'd always joke around and have fun, and say, "Hey, slow down, take it easy, take it easy." And same way with the guys. I tell the guys the same thing. Hey, you're going too fast. Take it easy. And then when we do house shows, I say this is the shit that you need to do on a house show. You don't need to do all this on TV. You don't need all this, you know. And I've uh I've always loved the business, and I love the guys. I love everybody in this business. There's nobody that there's a couple of them I don't like, but I won't name them. But anyway, uh, I've always loved the business, and I've always tried to be a right hand man, regardless of who I work for. And I think I'll say this: so TNA was one of the most relaxed companies that I've worked for in my life. When I went there, there was no stress, no pressure, no nothing. Dixie Carter was as good to me as God. She treated me like the Pope of Rome, you know, and it wasn't like whatever the other company. You know, it was a lot of stress, and you knew if you screwed up, you'd go be in trouble. And if you didn't enjoy it, and if I couldn't enjoy myself going to work, then I didn't want to go. You know, and when I left WWE, I wasn't going back. And Jeff Jarrett gave me a call to come to TNA. I was going to do one pay-per-view, and that was it. And once I put my foot back in the ring, it's old saying goes in this business, never say never. So I did the pay-per-view, I did the TV. Next thing I know, I was going down there every week doing TVs. And that was the most enjoyable place that really and so, and I really thank all of them for putting me into the TNA Hall of Fame. Uh, uh, Mike Tenay and Don West is going in. I think it's August the 20. No, I mean October the 21st, and
Tracy Brooks.
Tracy Brooks.
What do you want people to remember you as, Dad?
But I just want people to remember me of the hard work that I put into this business through the years, and what I sacrificed my body for in that ring. Because I get up every morning now sore as hell, and I can feel what I've done and given. But other than that, just remember me who what I did and who I am, and that's about it.
Well, I know the fans, myself included, thank you for all the memorable moments that you were involved in and centerpiece of in terms of your smooth orchestration. Definitely right up there with the greatest that ever did it. And I do appreciate your time today. But before we let you both go, can you tell us where we can find you on social media? And do you have any appearances or other events that you'd like the fans to know about?
Do you know your Instagram, Dad? Let me test you.
No. Katie does all my head work. All I do is answer the questions.
Well, you know where you'll be though in the next couple of weeks, right? Like October 14th, you'll be where?
I'll be in Madison, West Virginia.
And then there's something else. And then WrestleCade, he's always at WrestleCade. So Black Friday weekend and Winston-Salem. So that's whatever Black Friday weekend is. There's something else though, Dad, isn't there? I don't know, but on his Instagram, which is Earl Hebner Official, is all of we try to keep it very up to date. So that will be where his appearances are. He's doing a lot of appearances now. And then also Earl Hebner just on Facebook. I don't know what the actual handle is, but there's a lot of Earl Hebners on Facebook. But the one where he's holding their wrestling belt, that's the one that is the legit one. And then he's on Twitter, kind of. I think that's Earl Hebner 17. And then mine's just Katie_Hebner across the board on Twitter, on Instagram, K Hebner 2, which is on Facebook. And then you'll have your book coming out. We hope to have it out by WrestleCade.
It'll be out by WrestleCade.
Well, as much as you're being procrastinating, Dad, it took him a month just to read a draft. So we hope to have that. You also have your earlhebner.bigcartel.com, which is also on his Instagram. That's his online shop. So people can do personalized 8x10s. They can buy action figures, wrestling buddies, shirts, and then we'll have his book up there soon.
Are pre-orders being accepted for the book or not quite yet?
Not quite yet, but they will be. We are doing pre-orders, yes. So
Perfect.
there'll be like a special edition to where you'll have a signature with it. We're still working with the writer, so there's a couple of tier of books that, a couple options, but they'll have one where it's pre-order, and then the special edition and autograph, and you know how all that stuff goes.
Perfect. Well, that will definitely be a book I will be reading. And I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the Hannibal TV to thank you both for your time. It was definitely fascinating. Did not disappoint. And we'll keep in touch and hopefully have you back during the period in which the book is out. Anything else that you'd like to discuss, always welcome here at the Hannibal TV. So thanks again, both Katie and Earl.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Well, fans, that's it for a special edition of the Great North Wrestling Podcast. Want to thank once again our guests, Katie and Earl Hebner, and we will see you next time, everybody.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos,